The city of Lumora never slept. Skyscrapers glowed with soft blue runes lighting up the sky like a web of stars. Magic lived in every corner, from the trains that floated above glowing rails to the street lamps that hummed with spells. High, above it all, Elias Varnholt stood at the window of his penthouse staring at the stars. At 48, he was one of the richest men in Lumora. People called him a genius, a leader, a king without a crown. But behind his success, Elias carried a pain no one could see. 20 years ago, he had lost the only woman he ever truly loved, Silvara. She was a mage, full of light and laughter. His family had forbidden him from being with her. They called her dangerous, unworthy. But Elias didn't care. When she disappeared, pregnant with his child, his heart broke. He searched for her, but the Starweave Coven's magic kept her hidden. Now the city praised him for his business empire. His face was on magazine covers. But every night, Elias looked up at the stars and wondered, where is my daughter? Was she safe? Did she even know he existed? That night, after a long meeting, Elias felt restless. He didn't want to return to his quiet, cold apartment. On a whim, he told his driver to stop at a small diner he'd seen before, Star's End. It looked warm, glowing in the rain. Something pulled him there, though he couldn't explain why. Inside, the diner smelled like coffee and fresh bread. It was cozy. The walls were lined with pictures of stars and comets. Elias chose a quiet, corner booth. A young waitress came over. Her dark hair was tied back and her hazel eyes sparkled with life. Her smile was real, gentle and kind. "Welcome to Star's End," she said. "Would you like some coffee?" Elias looked up at her and froze. Her eyes, her face. She looked like Silvara. Around her neck, a crystal pendant glowed faintly. His heart skipped a beat. That pendant, he had given it to Silvara. "Where did you get that necklace?" Elias asked, his voice shaking. The waitress frowned and touched the crystal. "I've always had it. Why?" He leaned forward, his eyes wide with hope. "What's your name?" "Amara," she replied, stepping back slightly. "Do I know you?" Elias's voice dropped to a whisper. I think you're my daughter." Amara stared at the man across the booth, unsure if she'd heard him right. "My what?" she asked slowly, clutching her tray tighter. Elias's eyes were glassy with emotion. "Your name is Amara. You wear a pendant I gave to your mother, and you look exactly like her." Amara's breath caught in her throat. She'd worn the necklace for as long as she could remember. It was the only thing she'd ever had from her past, from the parents she never knew. "This is a mistake," she said quickly. "I don't know you. I've never known my parents. I was raised in foster homes." Elias pulled something from his wallet with shaking fingers, a photograph, worn and faded. He handed it to her. The woman in the photo had soft eyes, silver, hair, and a warm smile. The same pendant hung around her neck. Amara felt her knees weaken. Her heart raced. "Who is she?" "Her name was Silvara," Elias said, voice full of longing. "She was your mother, and I loved her. She disappeared before you were born. I searched for her for years. The Starweave Coven hid her. They didn't want me to find her, or you." Amara took a step back. "Why would they hide her? Why would she keep me from you?" "She was trying to protect you," Elias said softly. "My family, my father, they would have never accepted her. Or you." "You're saying you're my father?" Amara whispered, her voice barely audible. "Yes," he said. "I believe, with all my heart, that you are my daughter." She couldn't breathe. The room spun around her. She turned and rushed toward the kitchen, her mind in chaos. Her manager called after her, but she barely heard him. Elias followed carefully, keeping his distance. "Amara, please. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to explain." Amara stopped at the back exit, turning around with tears in her eyes. You don't know me. I've been alone all my life, and now you show up and say you're my father? I don't want to scare you, Elias said. But if you let me, I can show you the truth. We can go to the Starweave Coven. They'll confirm everything. She stared at him, heart pounding. Why now? Because fate finally let me find you. The rain fell harder outside. Amara looked down at her pendant. It glowed faintly, as if reacting to something. Her whole world had just changed. The rain tapped rhythmically against the diner's back door as Amara hesitated. Her thoughts spiraled. All her life she'd longed for answers. But now that one stood before her, flesh and blood, it felt unreal. Too sudden, too heavy. Don't know you, she said again, her voice quieter this time. I know, Elias said, pausing a few steps away. But I've known you in my dreams for 20 years. Amara blinked, caught off guard by the softness in his voice. He continued, Your mother disappeared while pregnant. The only thing she left behind was magic and silence. The Coven, they erased her from every path I searched. But when I saw your eyes, I knew. The pendant only confirmed it. Amara looked down. The pendant pulsed with a faint bluish light. I've always wondered about this, she whispered. It glows sometimes. I thought it was just weird. It's a Starweave charm, Elias said, made by the Coven to protect bloodlines. Yours and hers. 1,000 questions boiled inside her. Was this why she always felt out of place? Why stargazing soothed her in ways she never understood? Why her dreams were filled with shimmering constellations and names she'd never heard? Amara exhaled shakily. If I go with you, and this Coven confirms it, what then? Then, Elias said, you'll know the truth about your mother, about who you are, and you won't have to be alone anymore. She studied him for a long moment. His suit was damp from the rain, but his face held sincerity. Not the smug arrogance of a billionaire, but the vulnerability of a man who had lost something precious and dared to hope again. Amara swallowed. Okay, she said, heart pounding. Take me to them. Elias's shoulders eased. He held the door for her. It's a short drive. They won't be pleased to see me, but they will see you. As they stepped into the rainy night, Lumora stretched before them, its glowing skyline both majestic and ominous. Magic danced in the reflections of the wet streets, and Amara felt it more strongly than ever. Like something inside her was awakening. She had no idea what waited at the end of the road, but the stars did. The streets of Lumora shimmered as rain glazed the cobblestones with light. As the car sped through the city, Amara watched the towers and floating lanterns blur past. The city looked different now, like it had secrets she was only beginning to see. Elias drove in silence, his grip tight on the steering wheel. His jaw was clenched, but his eyes flicked to her every few seconds as if making sure she was still there, still real. Amara broke the silence. Why didn't the Coven let you find us? They were protecting you, Elias said. From my family. From the curse. She turned toward him, confusion tightening her brow. Curse? He nodded slowly. The Varnholt bloodline has always feared magic. My father, Lord Varnholt, considered it impure, dangerous. When he found out Silvara was with child, he swore she'd never raise you. So she ran. She disappeared, Elias said softly. And I've lived every day since wondering if she was even alive. Amara's fingers toyed with her pendant as her heart thudded. And now you think she's gone? I don't know, Elias admitted. The Coven may have answers. They turned down an alley lit by softly glowing runes. A towering stone structure loomed ahead, carved with stars and moons. The air here was heavier, charged with unseen energy. This is it, Elias said. The Temple of the Starweave. The car stopped at its base. Amara stared up at it, her breath caught. The entrance was guarded by silver doors etched with constellations that shimmered as if alive. She stepped out into the rain, barely feeling it now. As they approached, the doors opened slowly. A woman stepped forward, tall, regal, with silver robes that flowed like water. Her eyes were as sharp as steel. "Elias Varnholt," she said coldly. "You return after 20 years. "I found her, Lisara," Elias replied. "Silvara's daughter." The high mage Lisara turned to Amara, her gaze piercing. "Come forward, child." Amara hesitated, then stepped closer. The woman's eyes narrowed as they landed on the pendant. She reached out and touched it, and the gem flared with light. A hum filled the air. "She bears the mark," Lisara said quietly. "The Starweave accepts her." Elias exhaled a shaky breath. Amara blinked at the high mage. "What does that mean?" she asked. Lisara stepped aside. "It means you are one of us, and your truth lies inside." Amara followed her into the temple, its glowing, doors closing behind her. Behind her, the city faded. Ahead, the stars waited to speak. The Temple of the Starweave was like nothing Amara had ever seen. Its domed ceiling shimmered like a living sky, stars flickering across the stone as though the night had folded itself into the building. The air smelled faintly of lavender and ash, and every footstep echoed like a whisper from the past. Elias walked beside her, silent but tense. His eyes scanned every corner like a man returning to a place he'd once loved and feared. High Mage Lisara led them through a long corridor, lined with statues. Each figure held a star-shaped relic at its heart, glowing softly. Magic hummed all around. Finally, they reached a circular chamber. At its center lay a pool of water, smooth as glass. The sky above it was open, revealing the real stars twinkling, high above Lumora. Lisara gestured to the pool. "This is the pool of memory. It sees the past. It can show you who you are and what you've forgotten." Amara's heart raced. "I've never known anything about where I came from. Can this really help?" Lisara nodded. "But the truth comes with weight. Once seen, it cannot be unseen." Elias stepped forward. "She deserves to know. We both do." Lisara studied him for a moment, then turned back to Amara. "Place your hand in the water." Amara knelt slowly. Her fingers trembled as she touched the surface. The pool rippled, and then began to glow. Images bloomed in the water like dreams. A woman appeared, her hair silver white, her eyes warm and familiar. Amara gasped. "That's her. That's Silvara." She watched as Silvara ran through the woods, holding a baby close to her chest. Runes blazed in the sky above her. Voices shouted in the distance. Then another figure appeared, a man in a black cloak, his face hidden. His eyes glowed red as he raised a staff toward Silvara. Elias's voice shook. "My father." Silvara whispered a spell, and the baby vanished, in a beam of light, sent somewhere far, hidden from the man. The vision faded. Amara pulled her hand away, stunned. "She protected me," she said softly. "She gave everything so I could live." Lisara nodded. "She bound your magic to your emotions. It was the only way to hide you from Lord Varnholt." "But why is he still hunting me?" Amara asked. "Because," Lisara said grimly, "you're the last Starweaver, and your power threatens everything he built." Elias reached for her hand. "We'll protect you. I swear it." Amara looked from him to Lisara, then back at the stars above. Her whole life had changed in a single night, and the truth had only just begun to unfold. The ride back to Elias's penthouse was silent. Amara sat beside him in the back of the black luxury car, her thoughts tangled like threads of starlight. Outside, Lumora's towers glowed softly, the runes etched into glass reflecting in the windows like constellations drifting past. Elias stole glances at her, his daughter, now real and sitting within arm's reach. But he said nothing, afraid any wrong word might shatter the fragile trust between them. Amara finally broke the silence. "Why didn't you fight harder for her?" she asked, her voice low. Elias flinched. "I was young, afraid." My family threatened to destroy her, ruin her name. I thought she was safer without me. Amara turned toward the window, jaw tight. She wasn't. I know, he whispered. I've lived with that regret every day. The car stopped in front of a towering building. Elias led her up through a private elevator, the silence thick between them. When the doors opened, Amara stepped into a palace of glass and steel. The view stretched across Lumora, its rivers glowing with magic. "This is where you live?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Elias said. "But it's never felt like home." Amara walked slowly to the windows, gazing out. "I grew up in group homes, tiny rooms, plastic furniture. No one ever stayed long enough to remember my birthday." Elias swallowed hard. "I wish I could go back and find you sooner." She didn't respond. Instead, she unfastened her pendant and held it out. "This was the only thing I had. I used to stare at it and pretend it meant something." He took it gently, his fingers brushing hers. "It meant everything. Silvara enchanted it. It kept you hidden and alive." A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows. The air shimmered faintly. Elias looked around sharply. "Did you feel that?" Amara nodded. "Like something shifted." He took a step back. "The veil. It's thinning." The pendant began to glow in his palm, brighter than ever before. Then, without warning, the lights flickered, and a shadow passed across the room. They weren't alone. A voice echoed through the penthouse, deep and cruel. "You cannot hide her forever, Elias." Amara's blood ran cold. "Who was that?" Elias's face turned pale. "My father." And somewhere beyond the shimmering ruins of the city, something ancient stirred awake. The voice echoed like a storm inside a cavern, ancient and angry. Amara backed away from the windows, her eyes darting around the vast penthouse. "Where is he? I don't see anyone." Elias scanned the space, his hand clenching the glowing pendant. "He's not here physically yet. My father learned to travel through the veil, through shadows. He's testing the boundaries." The air around them shimmered again, the glow from the pendant pulsing rapidly. Amara felt it thrum against her chest like a second heartbeat. "Why is he after me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I've done nothing to him." Elias's jaw tightened. "Because you carry something he fears, your mother's blood, and her power. The star we've lined threatens everything he built. He wants to erase it. Erase you." Amara stared at the pendant, then at Elias. "Then why didn't he kill you too?" "I was useful," Elias said bitterly. "I built the empire, under his watch. But I refused to hunt Silvara. That's when he cast me out. He considered me weak." A crack of energy split the air, and a flash of red light lit up the room like lightning. A figure formed for a brief moment. A cloaked man with glowing eyes, his presence suffocating. "You defy me again, son," the voice growled. "She will not survive." Amara stepped forward, her fear folding into fury. "I'm not afraid of you." The shadow flickered, then vanished. Silence returned. Elias turned to her, stunned. He retreated. "Because of you." "I didn't do anything," she whispered. "You did," Elias said. "You faced him. That's the blood your mother carried. That's what makes you powerful." Amara shook her head. "I'm just a waitress." "No," Elias said softly. "You're more. And if we're going to survive what's coming, you need to become who you were born to be." Amara looked out at Lumora, her reflection in the glass now different. No longer just a lost girl, but the daughter of fire and stars, and the storm had only just begun. The next morning, the city of Lumora shimmered beneath a golden sky, its towers bathed in early sunlight. But inside Elias's penthouse, the air was tense, thick with the weight of what had happened the night before. Amara sat at the edge of a velvet armchair, cradling a steaming cup of tea that Elias's housekeeper had brought. She hadn't slept. The image of the cloaked man, her grandfather, haunted her thoughts. His voice still echoed in her mind, threatening and cold. Elias stood by the window, speaking softly on a crystal-bound phone with Lysara. When he ended the call, he turned to her. "They've summoned us," he said. "The Starweave Coven wants to train you." "Train me?" Amara raised an eyebrow. "Like magic lessons?" Elias nodded. "It's not just about power, Amara. The veil between our world and the realm of shadows is weakening. You're the key to keeping it sealed." She laughed, though it came out hollow. "A week ago I was trying to earn enough tips to fix a broken sink. Now I'm supposed to save the city from ancient evil?" "I know it's a lot," Elias said gently. "But you're not alone anymore." Amara looked up at him. "Do you really believe I can do this?" "I do. And I think, deep down, you believe it too." There was a knock at the door. A woman entered, tall, cloaked in silver, her eyes sharp as winter. It was Lysara in the flesh. "Amara," she said, her voice smooth as silk. "You have your mother's fire. But fire must be tempered. Come, the stars have waited long enough." Amara stood, still unsure, but something inside her stirred. Courage, maybe, or destiny. She glanced once more at Elias, then followed Lysara out the door, and beneath her pendant, the crystal pulsed, as if it too was waking up. The temple of the Starweave Coven stood silent as Amara and Lysara entered. Its walls hummed with quiet energy, the air thick with ancient magic. Amara felt it immediately, like whispers brushing against her skin, tugging at her thoughts. Lysara led her through a corridor lined with star-forged stones that shimmered as they passed. At the end stood a chamber Amara hadn't seen before. Unlike the pool room, this one was smaller, more intimate. Its ceiling curved like the inside of a dome, and constellations moved slowly across it like a living sky. "This is the chamber of echoes," Lysara said. "It remembers the bloodline." Amara stepped inside, uncertain. "What does that mean?" Lysara pointed to the center, where a crystal orb floated above a pedestal. "Place your hands on it. It will show you what your heart is ready to see." Amara hesitated, then moved forward. Her fingers brushed the orb, and instantly light flared. She gasped. A vision swallowed her. She saw her mother, Silvara, young, fierce, her silver hair blowing in the wind. She held baby Amara close, standing at the edge of a cliff while red-cloaked figures pursued her. Elias's voice echoed in the distance, calling her name, but Silvara turned away, vanishing into mist. Another vision came. Lord Varnholt, Elias's father, watching with fury as a younger Elias argued with him, demanding freedom to love. The Lord slammed a staff into the ground, casting a curse. Amara stumbled back, eyes wide. "That was real," Lysara said. "Your family's past, and part of what binds you now." Amara caught her breath. "He cursed us, because Elias defied him." Lysara nodded. "The curse fed on heartbreak, but your bond with Elias weakens it." Amara clenched her fists. "Then I'll learn, whatever it takes. I won't run from this." Lysara smiled faintly. "Then we begin at dusk. But be warned, when one star rises, another often falls." And far away in the shadows of Lumora, someone else watched the sky, waiting for nightfall. Dusk bled into night, and the stars above Lumora shimmered with eerie brightness. In the chamber of the Starweave Coven, Amara stood facing Lysara, her heart pounding like a drum. She had made her choice. She would no longer run from who she had always been meant to be. Lysara extended her hands, and a circle of runes ignited around them. "This ritual will awaken the sleeping strands of your magic, but it will also open you to memories buried deep. Some truths are painful." Amara nodded. "I want to know. I need to." As the ritual began, light and shadow danced through the room. Amara closed her eyes, and the pendant around her neck pulsed, responding to the magic. Her thoughts blurred as the room faded, replaced by a memory not her own. She was in a forest, moonlight dripping through the branches. Silvara stood before her, eyes fierce, tears glistening. "You are loved," Silvara whispered to the baby in her arms. "Amara, but I must hide you. They'll never stop hunting." A distant roar. The red-cloaked men of the Varnholt line approached, magic crackling in their hands. Silvara kissed her child's forehead and placed the glowing pendant around her neck. "This will protect you, and someday, it will bring you home." The vision shattered. Amara gasped, her knees hitting the floor of the chamber. She clutched the pendant, now burning hot against her skin. Tears spilled from her eyes, not from pain, but from the weight of truth. "She loved me," Amara whispered. "She sacrificed everything." Lysara knelt beside her, and her spirit lingers, not in sorrow, but in strength. But somewhere, beyond the temple, beyond the veil of the stars, a figure stood atop a rooftop, watching. The woman's hair gleamed silver in the moonlight. Her voice, low and haunting, whispered into the wind. "It's time they knew I never died. Silvara lived." The next morning, Elias stood by the wide windows of his penthouse, gazing at the sun rising over Lumora. The city sparkled below, bright, magical, alive. Yet nothing felt steady inside him. His thoughts were only of Amara. She had chosen courage last night, standing in the face of fear, calling upon powers buried deep. But Elias could sense something had changed, not just within her, but in the world around them. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Lysara. She has awakened, and with her, something else has stirred. Prepare yourself. The past walks again. Elias's breath caught. Meanwhile, Amara sat at the temple balcony wrapped in a cloak, sipping tea. Her hands still trembled. Last night's vision had felt real, more than a dream, more than a memory. It had been her mother. The warmth of her voice still echoed inside her. She had grown up believing her mother was dead. Now, a spark of hope glowed inside her like the pendant. Lysara approached quietly. "You saw her, didn't you?" Amara nodded. "She's alive, I felt her." "There are whispers," Lysara said, folding her arms. "Sightings. A woman matching Silvara's description moving through the city's shadows. But she hides, for a reason." "Why hasn't she come to me?" Amara whispered. "Perhaps to protect you still," Lysara replied. "Or perhaps she has her own secrets." Amara stood. "I need to find her." Lysara raised an eyebrow. "And what will you do when you do?" Amara looked toward the skyline. "Ask her why." Far across Lumora, in a hidden chamber beneath an abandoned observatory, Silvara leaned over a glowing map of the city. Her eyes shimmered with tears as she traced her fingers over a point marked Stars End Diner. "She's grown strong," Silvara whispered. Behind her, a hooded figure stepped forward. "They think you're dead, that the line is broken." Silvara smiled faintly. "Then they're not ready for what comes next." The city of Lumora moved like clockwork above ground. Cars, commerce, magic. But underneath, where light barely touched, other forces stirred. And in those quiet shadows, the name Amara had begun to echo. Elias arrived at the temple by noon, his expression grim. "Lysara," he said, "I've received a warning. Someone from the old Varnholt estate. A guardian we left behind. He claims Silvara was seen." Lysara exchanged a knowing glance with Amara. "She is not hiding well enough anymore." Amara stepped forward. "Then let's stop hiding too." Elias turned to her. "Are you sure? If she's alive, the danger increases. There are those loyal to my father who would do anything to keep the bloodline clean." "I've lived in fear of nothing for 20 years, Amara said. "Now I know who I am. I'm done hiding." Lysara pulled out a worn, silver map. "There's a place in the ruins of old Lumora, before the skyscrapers. Before the enchantments. A Coven outpost. Silvara used to go there when she needed to vanish. Then we go there, Elias said firmly. That night, under a blanket of stars, Elias, Amara, and Lisara stood at the mouth of the ruins. Vines clung to cracked stone. The magic here was ancient, unpredictable. Inside, dust danced in the air, like fireflies. Amara held up her pendant. Its glow intensified. "She's here," Amara whispered. They followed the pulsing light through the winding tunnels until they reached a round chamber lined with forgotten spells and symbols. In the center stood a mirror, clouded but humming with energy. Suddenly the mirror rippled, and from its surface stepped Silvara. She looked unchanged, hair like moonlight, eyes like Amara's. But her face held years of pain. "Amara," she said, voice breaking. Elias froze. "Sil." Amara couldn't speak. Silvara reached out. "My daughter, you found your way." Tears welled up in Amara's eyes. "Why didn't you come back for me?" Silvara's voice trembled. "Because if I did, you'd both be hunted. But now, the seal has weakened, and Lord Varnholt has returned." Lisara stepped forward. "The curse wasn't broken, only delayed." Silvara nodded. "And this time, it's not just him. There are others, those who serve the Dark Star." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we fight." Silvara looked between them. "We'll have to, or the stars will fall." In the temple's hidden chamber, the reunion hung heavy in the air, hope wrapped in grief. Amara stood between the two people whose love had shaped her fate, her mother a living ghost, her father a man reborn through loss. But the moment of peace was fleeting. A gust of wind howled through the tunnels. The mirror cracked. Silvara's face paled. "They've found us." Lisara raised her hand, casting a shield across the chamber just as the stones shook. "Too soon," she muttered. "We were not ready." From the broken mirror spilled shadows, figures cloaked in robes as dark as the void. Their eyes shimmered with a red hue, empty of mercy. The leader stepped forward, his voice like splintering bone. "The girl carries the Starweave blood. She must not rise." Elias stood before Amara. "You'll have to go through me." "So be it." The battle was sudden and fierce. Silvara summoned a storm of silver light, her magic weaving with Lisara's as they fought to hold the darkness at bay. Elias, untrained in spells but fueled by fury, used ancient relics hidden in the temple to push the intruders back. Amara clutched her pendant. Its light surged, stronger than ever. Then, without warning, it burst from her chest, projecting a star-shaped sigil into the air. The shadows recoiled. The leader hissed. "She's awakening." Silvara's voice rang out, desperate. "Amara, speak your truth. Only then can the final seal be restored." Amara closed her eyes. Her voice was steady. "I am not a curse, I am not a mistake. I am love, born from rebellion. I choose light." The pendant blazed like a sun. A shockwave exploded from the chamber, knocking the intruders off their feet. When the light faded, the shadows had vanished, but the mirror was shattered, and Silvara was fading again. "No!" Amara cried, running to her. Silvara smiled faintly. "You've done what I never could. You became more than a secret." Elias knelt beside her, his voice cracking. "Stay. Don't leave again." Silvara cupped Amara's cheek. "You are the light that will guide this world." And with a final breath, she dissolved into stardust. The chamber fell silent, but the stars above Lumora blazed brighter than they had in a century. The silence in the temple chamber was thick with sorrow and magic. Silvara's final blessing lingered in the air like the last notes of a lullaby, soft and aching. Amara remained on her knees, eyes locked on the spot where her mother had vanished, tears rolling down her cheeks without sound. Elias stood behind her, hands clenched at his sides, eyes red. He had found her, then lost her again. "I wasn't ready to say goodbye," Amara whispered. "She never truly left." Lysara said gently. Not from you. Lysara stepped forward and held out a scroll wrapped in silver thread. This is the Starweave Codex. It holds your lineage, your gift, and your right to choose who you want to be. Amara took it, the parchment warm in her hands. As she unraveled it, glowing runes spiraled into the air, forming constellations. Her name shimmered among them, Amara Silva Varnholt, etched in starlight. Her breath caught. That name. It felt right. It felt like hers. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. You are part of something far greater than my world of business and power. You're magic, Amara. You're everything your mother hoped you'd be. I don't know if I'm ready, she said, her voice small. You already are, he replied. Outside, the city of Lumora was waking to a new dawn. The runes on the buildings pulsed in rhythm with the stars above. News of a strange aurora during the storm would spread, but no one would know the truth, that a girl had sealed an ancient curse and claimed her destiny. Lysara bowed before Amara. As High Mage of the Starweave, I welcome you into your birthright. When you're ready, your place is here. Amara looked at Elias, then the Codex, then to the stars beyond the temple dome. I'll come back, she promised. But first I need to live. Because sometimes before you change the world, you have to find your place in it. They left the temple, the sky glittering above, the pendant at Amara's neck now glowing steadily. She was no longer just a waitress. She was a daughter, a legacy, and the stars finally knew her name. The night air in Lumora carried the faint scent of rain and wildflowers as Elias and Amara walked side by side through the quiet city. Their steps echoed gently on the cobbled path that led away from the temple district. Neither spoke for a while, the silence between them not empty, but full of questions, memories, and emotions that had no words yet. Elias stole a glance at Amara. She looked up at the stars like she belonged among them. You've always felt that pull, haven't you? He asked softly. The stars, the skies. She nodded, her voice distant. Even as a child, I used to wish on them. I didn't know why. I just felt watched, guided. Elias smiled. That was your mother, and the magic in your blood. Amara reached up and touched her pendant, which no longer flickered uncertainly but glowed with calm purpose. It doesn't feel heavy anymore. It feels like it's part of me. They reached a small bridge overlooking a quiet river. The city lights danced across the surface like fireflies. Amara leaned against the railing, the moonlight catching in her curls. I never imagined this, she whispered. Finding a father. Losing a mother I never knew. Learning I have magic that could destroy or save everything. You don't have to carry it alone, Elias said. Not anymore. She turned to face him. You said something back in the temple. That I'm everything my mother hoped I'd be. But what about you? Who are you without your empire? He hesitated. A man who made too many mistakes. But I'd like to be more than that. I'd like to be your father, if you'll let me. Amara studied him, her hazel eyes filled with both strength and softness. Then she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. Okay, she said into his chest. We'll figure it out. Together. As the moon rose higher, the city of Lumora sighed beneath them, its secrets settled for the night. But shadows moved still. Far above, perched on a rooftop, the woman who had watched them before, the one with Silvara's eyes, smiled faintly. The bloodline is alive, she whispered, and in her hand a second pendant pulsed with light. She moved like mist, graceful, silent, unseen. Perched atop the highest spire of Lumora's old observatory, the woman watched the city like it was a living map. Her cloak billowed in the breeze, woven with silver threads that shimmered like moonlight. Her eyes, sharp and knowing, scanned the skyline until they found the two figures crossing the bridge, Elias and Amara. So the child lives, she murmured. Her hand tightened around the second pendant, its crystal a deep violet glowing in time with Amara's. It was not just a mirror, it was a tether, a relic from the ancient rites of the Starweave Coven, long before Silvara's time. She turned and descended into the shadows of the spire, where candlelight flickered in an arcane circle drawn on the stone floor. Ancient runes glowed, and a low hum vibrated in the air. A voice echoed from the dark. A whisper carried by, "Wind and time. Has the bloodline awakened?" "Yes," the woman replied, kneeling before the circle. "Amara lives. Elias has found her. And the curse? Stalled, but not broken." The voice crackled. "Then we must act, before the girl chooses her path." She stood slowly, pulling back her hood. Her features were sharp, ethereal, and her silver-streaked hair shimmered like stardust. She was not just a spy. She was Silvara's twin sister, a mage once banished from the Coven for defying the celestial order. Her name was Selene, and she had waited 20 years for this moment. She looked at the pendant and whispered, "Little niece, you carry more than a legacy. You carry a key." Outside, thunder rolled across the sky, though no storm brewed, only the stirring of ancient power, and, in the heart of Lumora, Amara stirred in her sleep, unaware of the eyes that watched or the secrets yet to rise. Amara awoke to the sound of distant thunder. Morning light poured through her apartment window, golden and warm, but her chest felt tight, like something was pressing against her heart. The pendant at her neck was warm again, pulsing gently, like a heartbeat. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes. The night at the temple still echoed in her bones. The ritual, her father's vow, the vision of Lord Varnholt being consumed by shadow. It had all happened, hadn't it? Her phone buzzed. Message from Elias. "I'll be at the gardens today. If you're ready to talk, I'll wait." She held the phone to her chest and stared at the ceiling. Part of her wanted to ignore it. Part of her wanted to run to him. But all of her wanted answers. By midday, she found herself wandering the Lumora Sky Gardens, an elevated maze of vines, fountains, and soft music. The noise of the city faded beneath the garden's enchantments. Elias was there, sitting on a bench beneath a weeping starlight tree. He looked up as she approached, a hopeful smile tugging at his lips. "You came," he said softly. "I said, I needed time." "I didn't say I'd disappear," Amara replied, sitting beside him. They sat in silence for a while. Then Elias spoke. "There's more you need to know. About your mother, about the Coven, about what's coming." Amara looked at him, guarded. "Coming?" Elias's eyes darkened. There was another, Silvara's twin, Selene. She was cast out for delving into forbidden magic. She wanted to reshape the Coven, break the celestial order. She vanished after your mother disappeared. Amara's skin prickled. Why now? Why would she return? Because the curse was never just a punishment, it was a seal. On something older. Something she wants to unleash. Just then, the pendant on Amara's neck flashed brightly. A gust of cold wind swirled through the garden, stirring the trees. Amara clutched the crystal. "She's watching me, isn't she?" Elias stood slowly. "Yes. And we're running out of time." The wind that swept through the Lumora Sky Gardens wasn't natural. It whispered in a voice only Amara could hear. A soft, chilling hum that curled around her name. Elias noticed her face pale and stepped closer. "You felt her, didn't you?" Amara nodded slowly. "It was like a thread pulled tight inside me, like someone tugged on my soul." Elias clenched his jaw. "Selene was always drawn to power. Your birth, the blending of Starweave blood with mine, was something she desired. If she's returned, she'll want to claim you." "I'm not some relic," Amara snapped, her voice trembling. "I'm not a weapon." "No," Elias said gently, "but she'll think you are." They left the gardens immediately. Elias's car wove through the streets of Lumora like a silver arrow, but Amara couldn't stop glancing at the shadows outside the windows. For a moment, she saw a reflection in the glass. Not hers, but a woman's, with silver hair and eyes, like mirrors. At the penthouse, Elias pulled a hidden panel open in the wall, revealing a small crystal vault. He removed a glowing sphere, the color of deep twilight. "This is a warding orb," he explained. "Silvara made it for you before. She vanished. It will shield your thoughts for a time." Amara held the orb and its warmth seeped into her palm. But a sharp pain stabbed behind her eyes and suddenly a vision hit her like lightning. A woman in silver robes, standing in the ruins of the Starweave Temple. Her voice echoed across broken stones. "She will come willingly, or I will burn what remains." Amara gasped and dropped the orb. Elias rushed to her side. "She's in my head," Amara whispered. "She knows about me, about us." Elias gripped her shoulders. "Then we have to find the Coven again. Lysara will know what to do." But deep inside, Amara already knew this wasn't just about protection or spells. This was a war of legacy, and she was the battleground. The Starweave Temple stood quiet beneath a full moon, its silver domes reflecting the stars like a mirror turned to the heavens. Elias and Amara stepped through the gates, the pendant around her neck pulsing steadily, as though guiding her forward. High, Mage Lysara awaited them at the base of the inner sanctum, her robes rippling like water even in still air. Her expression was unreadable. "You felt her," Lysara said, not a question. "She's alive," Amara confirmed. "And she's angry." Lysara turned, leading them deeper into the temple. Selene was raised alongside Silvara, twins by blood, opposites by fate. When Silvara chose love, Selene chose power. She believed the Starweave gift should rule, not protect. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" Amara asked. "Because knowledge is weight, child," Lysara said, halting before a sealed archway, "and yours was already heavy." She traced a glowing rune into the stone. The door side open, revealing a chamber lined with ancient scrolls and celestial relics. At its center stood a tall mirror, its surface swirling with silver mist. Elias stepped forward. "What is this place?" "A vault of truth," Lysara replied, "and where Silvara hid her final message." Lysara handed Amara a moonstone key. Her hands trembled as she fit it into the mirror's base. The surface rippled, and Silvara's face appeared softer than any memory, her eyes full of sorrow and strength. "My darling Amara," the echo of her voice said, "if you see this, then the path I feared has come. Your Aunt Selene is not dead, but corrupted. She seeks the source of Starweave, the wellspring of all celestial power. And you, my daughter, are the key." Amara's heart thundered. Silvara continued, "Elias will protect you. Trust him, and when the time comes, when you must choose between light and legacy, choose love. Always." The vision faded. The mirror darkened. Silence reigned. "I'm the key?" Amara whispered. Lysara nodded solemnly. "Selene wants your blood, to open the celestial gate. If she succeeds, she'll unravel the balance of our world." Amara's fingers curled around the pendant. "Then we stop her." But in the shadows of the chamber, something unseen moved, watching, waiting. The storm had returned to Lumora. Thunder rolled above the skyline as Elias's private aircar cut through the clouds, Amara beside him, her face pale but resolute. Below them, the city sparkled with runes and restless energy, unaware of the battle, stirring in its core. "The Celestial Gate," Elias said, voice tense, "was believed to be myth. A remnant of the first Starweavers. If Selene opens it—" "She won't," Amara interrupted, her voice firmer than it had ever been. They landed in the Forgotten Quarter, an ancient, abandoned district buried beneath the modern city. Here, the air shimmered unnaturally and every stone pulsed with faint star magic. At the heart of the ruins stood an obsidian arch, wrapped in vines of glowing sigils. Amara felt its pull immediately. Her blood answered it. "She's here," Amara whispered and turned. Selene stood in the mist, cloaked in midnight, Her smile was cold, her eyes the mirror of Silvara's, but hollow. "My sweet niece," she cooed. "You've grown strong, just like your mother." "You don't get to speak her name," Amara said, stepping forward. The pendant at her throat flared. Seleni's gaze dropped to it. Ah, the Heartstone, still loyal to Silvara, even in death. Elias moved to shield Amara, but she raised a hand. "No more hiding behind others," Seleni's laugh echoed. "Very well, let's see if your love can match my power." She raised her hands, drawing fire from the stars themselves. Elias shouted, casting a protective ward. Magic clashed like thunder, shaking the ruins. Amara, heart pounding, stepped toward the gate. "You said I'm the key. Fine, but I choose what to unlock." She pressed her hand to the gate. Light exploded from the arch, and the pendant shattered, sending a shockwave that knocked Selene to her knees. The runes around the gate dimmed. It would not open. Amara stood, breathless, the broken chain in her palm. "I choose love. I choose to end this." Selene screamed, but her magic faltered. Elias cast a final binding spell and Lysara appeared behind them, her staff glowing. "It is done," Lysara said. "The bloodline survives, but the gate remains, waiting." Amara turned to Elias. "Let's go home." He smiled, tears in his eyes. "Yes, home." But as they disappeared into the mist beneath the rubble, a single rune pulsed, slow and steady. The stars were not done.